you looking to up your real estate investing game? Well, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Sub2Deals Show with your host, Sub2 expert William Tingle.
Hey Sub2ers, this is William Tingle of Sub2Deals.com. I'd like to welcome you to this episode of the Sub2Deals Show, where we talk about everything subject to, and from time to time we'll slip in a few things that aren't necessarily directly related to Sub2, but have some relevance to your real estate investing. Today, I just want to talk to you for a few minutes about a question that I get a lot from new investors, and that is, can I close my own subject to deals? And really the short answer is absolutely you can. If you're a principal in the transaction, you can absolutely close those deals yourself with a notary, and there's no problem there. There's no worry about practicing law without a license or anything like that. Now, should you close them for a friend or another investor? Well, no, you shouldn't do that. You may well find yourself being charged with practicing law without a license, and you don't want to do that. But as long as you're a principal in the transaction, you can certainly do it. Now, should you? Well, if you're asking yourself if you should do it or if you can do it, I'm going to go with no, you shouldn't be doing it, because you obviously have some questions. Maybe you don't really understand what's involved in the process. And if that's the case, you certainly don't want to. What you want to do is let whatever the norm is in your state, whether that's a title company or an attorney, let them close, understand the process, see the paperwork that's involved, and that sort of thing before you try to go out and do it yourself. But it is a relatively simple process. There are a few documents involved that you need to pay close attention to, special attention to, and very detailed attention to, because they're important. Like the deed, for example, you're going to have a grantor, grantee. Your legal description is really where things get screwed up a lot of times. When someone tries to do a closing on their own, maybe the legal description won't be just right. And that doesn't have to be a big deal later on, but it can be. Just depends on who's involved. The attorney. You may have someone that works with you on a corrective deed or something like that to get things straightened out, but it can still be a headache. You don't want to have to deal with that sort of thing. So what I want to talk to you about today are the steps involved in closing one yourself. And you should be a pretty good judge of whether or not that's something that you want to take on. Anytime this gets brought up in any of the Facebook news groups or anything anywhere, really, you're going to have a few people that say, absolutely, I do it all the time. And you're going to have a few people that say, I would never, ever try to close my own deal. There are just too many things that can go wrong, and I just don't have to deal with that. And it's really penny wise and pound foolish to do it. And let me just say that I got my start closing my own deals, and it really wasn't a matter of saving the money. In most cases, you can get it closed a lot cheaper than a normal real estate closing, just because you're going to provide the documents in most cases for the attorney or title company. And, so, there's very little doc prep that has to be done on their part. Usually it's going to be $500. I've heard of it being a lot more than that in certain places. But typically a closing with our documents, buying subject to, is very inexpensive. It's not a case of saving money in a lot of cases. It is time that's important. I've literally had sellers in the past call me at midnight, the night before a foreclosure auction. They've had a last-minute change of heart. They want to do a deal, and we've got to have a title search. And unless you've been in business for a while and you've really made some good, strong contacts, your chance of getting someone down to the courthouse the minute it opens the next morning to do a title search for you and get those things done is pretty remote. Now, after you've been in business for a while, you know a lot of people, and you have the resources to say, hey, Joe, I need a title done immediately this morning, and I can pay you X to get it done, to entice them to do it. Yeah, you probably can do that. But when you're just getting started, things are a little bit different. So speed is really the reason that I learned to do it. And I'll tell you how I learned to do title work was just after a few deals. I had an attorney in Georgia, And Georgia is an attorney state, and they do have title searchers, but my attorney was an older guy, and he did his own title work. He would go to the courthouse and do it. And I just said to him one time, I said, "Hey, Wayne, listen, we've got this deal that we're going to do, and we need the title work on it. How about I follow you to the courthouse and just watch what you do?" So he said, "Sure." And he literally taught me how to do title work. So that's sort of how I learned to do it, and that's going to be the main part of closing yourself that's going to be so important besides the doc prep. So just a real quick list of some of the things that you need to do. Of course, when you meet with your seller the first time, you're going to sign a contract, a seller's disclosure, and you're going to get an authorization to release from your seller. And the authorization, of course, is the document that's going to give you the authority to call the lender up and make sure that the loan is what the seller indicated it was as far as the amount owed and the interest rate and the term and that sort of thing. And so you're going to take that, you'll have those documents, you can do all those things. Now, during the due diligence process, you're going to have a title search done, and you can either, if you've learned how to do it, do that yourself, or you can hire someone to do it. And title searches vary with what they cost from place to place. Some of them are a little bit more on the pricey side, and some of them are relatively inexpensive in different places. But really, you only need to worry about the title from the time that your seller bought the house until today. And I say that because in most cases, virtually every case where somebody has a traditional lender, they're going to have a title policy. I mean, the bank is going to require it. It's going to be, that closing is going to be insured. The title will be guaranteed from the seller's position back. So what you're really concerned with is what's happened on that title since the seller bought the property. Liens, judgments, any additional mortgages, that sort of thing. So it's really just a partial title search that probably won't be too expensive, but you will need to have that handled. Now, whether you do it yourself or you hire somebody, that's going to be up to you. You'll need to verify the mortgage information with the authorization to release that we talked about earlier, and that's just a matter of verifying the mortgage items, if there's any arrears involved, how much it'll cost to cure those, the mortgage rate, the maturity date, the balance, and that sort of stuff. You'll also need to get your insurance set up and in place. We've talked in previous episodes about having your own insurance guy that you can just call up and say, "Hey, Tom, we're closing on this house at 123 Oak Street the end of the month, and here are the specs on it as far as the seller's name and the bank name, and I need you to do your thing," and they'll do it. So they'll have your insurance ready to go. Any inspections that you need, termite inspections if you're in the South, don't ever buy a house without a termite inspection. And you can make contacts to get that done. A lot of pest control companies, if you use them for other things, they will, just go out and write a termite letter for you with no problem. Otherwise, it may cost you $50 or $100, but you always want to get that inspection, and then any other inspections that you need to do, whether that's structural or just a general home inspection. It just really depends, on how you want those things done. Now, are you going to use a trust? Who's going to be your trustee? You'll need to have all those things squared away. But once you get all of those things done, you're ready to close. And then it's just a matter of either meeting your seller at a notary or having a mobile notary come to the home of your seller to take care of those things. You'll have your documents prepped and ready to go. That's going to be a warranty deed, a limited power of attorney, any documents that are required by your state, for example, transfer tax documents and that sort of thing. Any special documents that your state requires, you're going to want to have those ready at that time. And then anything else that you may need. If you're going to use a trust, you'll want to have that, any CYA letters or other forms that you use. And depending on the investor, there could be several that you would want to use. So Those are the things that you'll need. You'll want to get that package over to your notary if you're doing this remotely. Of course, if you're there, you'll want to be there for the signing so you can sign any documents that need to be done. And that's really about it, except for filing the deed at the courthouse. Now, you can prepare the documents, or you can have a title company do it, or anyone that you know that's in the business, or if you don't feel comfortable doing it yourself, or you can prepare your own documents. If you have a computer and a Word program, I mean, you're pretty much good to go. If you have the experience and you know what you're doing, there's no reason you can't close the deal yourself. In fact, even today, we close virtually all of our deals just in-house with a notary. It's just simpler and it's easier. Now, we close our sale side with an attorney because, we're collecting a pretty large down payment from your buyer, and it just adds a degree of legitimacy to the whole transaction. And people expect to close with an attorney. A lot of times sellers just really don't care. At least that's what I found. So can you do your own closings for a sub-2 deal when you're purchasing? Absolutely, you can. I'll let you be the judge on whether or not you should do it based on your knowledge. If you feel like you may be a little bit uncertain in some areas, it's probably best to have a professional do it for you the first couple of times until you really get a good feel for what needs to be done. But that's really all there is to it. If anyone has any questions about doing a closing for Sub2, you can always join us at our Subject 2 group on Facebook, the Subject 2 Real Estate Forum. You can send those questions directly to me at william@sub2deals.com if you'd like, and I will answer you promptly. So that's it on how to close your own Sub2 deals. Appreciate you guys listening. Get out there and buy some houses.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Sub2 Deals Show with William Tingle. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a review and subscribe. And for more great content and to stay up to date, visit sub2deals.com and on Facebook at Sub2 Deals. We'll catch you next time.